Okay, I swear, only me. I have a very, very clean desk, and somehow I have lost the cap to my paint. No, it didn't fall on the floor. What the heck? Hey, painting pals! Welcome back to Mandy's Minis! And, yeah, I'll keep you apprised on the missing paint bottle cap, paint cap. But in the meantime, I have finally found the perfect model to put on YouTube, a tutorial for sheer fabric without worrying about getting any kind of trouble from, inappropriateness on YouTube. So we're going to finally get to do this tutorial. All right, first thing I'm going to do is start with my shadow color for the skin, and I'm painting it as if the fabric was not there. So I am just painting it all over. We're going to pretend like the fabric isn't there until it's time to paint the fabric. So that's where I'm going. But I swear, only I could lose a cap to my paint without there being a mess in here. Although we do joke that we have brownies, little mythical creatures that steal our stuff, because we've had several things go missing, and they're the weirdest items. So, nothing that anyone would want other than us, like some bases for a Star Wars game that I had made up. I had a commission and I made all the bases all at once, and they all went missing, a whole bag of them. And that was very interesting. So we have since cleaned and rearranged the studio twice since then. And I'm talking pulled out all the furniture. So the fact that they didn't get found yet, pretty insane. All right. I'm gonna get this dried off a little bit faster. And actually, while I do, before I do that, I should say, I am going to start on the hair. Okay, so before I get all the comments, mahogany brown is the shadow color, my deepest shadow for her skin tone. And I am now doing Reaper's Faded Khaki, and that's going to be her hair color. So the nice thing you'll notice about this is that I shouldn't say none, but most of the coloring we're doing is actually just basic layers. We don't have to go all the way up to highlights and things like that, because you're not going to see really big highlights through the fabric. You'll see some deeper shadows in places, but not so much the highlights. So this is going to be the hair color. And again, I don't really need to worry about getting a shadow color down for it or anything like that. We're going to just do the mid-tone on the hair because it's not really important. And again, you're only going to see so much of that through the veil that she's wearing. All right. It looks like she's got a separate veil behind her. So we're going to do that all as one veil. Okay. But I do need to clean up over here the line between the two. So we want a hard line, not a transition. All right. So while the hair is drying, I'm going to move on to my secondary shadow color, which is AKA Cork. Now we're going to put that right over our previous shadow color. You'll notice that I'm not doing 50-50 mixes. I am doing fairly big jumps, and actually a lot of this, the initial shadow color will be covered because we don't have really deep shadows for the most part, just in certain areas. So like for example, there around the nose, the deep set eye section of the eyes, that would actually handle it. And then we're going to come down here. Okay. All right. And the nice thing is, I actually just did this tutorial for my patrons about a week or so ago. So we're actually using the same colors that we used in the patron stream, but they actually got to see more of the anatomy and a bigger sense of what we're doing because they don't have the restrictions of YouTube. I'm going to put a second coat on the hair so we get a nice full saturation there. So if you want early access to videos and just become part of a helpful community, we do a lot of talking through Discord and helping with projects and feedback and helping improve and have a lot of fun. We do a lot of talk about different games. So it's a really fun community. If you are interested, you're always welcome to check out our Patreon. The link is in the description below, but there we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a second coat of that our secondary shadow. And it's really nice because you don't have to be specific, you don't have to be exact. If you wanted, you don't even have to do the eyes. You can have her eyes be closed and just continue the skin that way. I'm going to actually do her eyes open so I can show you what that would look like. I'm very excited about this model. I really, really love this particular model. Her face is being covered because she's got some kind of a disease, and it's really just a nice figure. So, and I think it's White Werewolf Tavern, but it could be DM Stash. I'm not 100% sure on that one. And then I'm going to go up to my mid-tone, which is, of course, my missing cap, Bronzed Flesh from Reaper. Of course, still missing. I have been searching all over for it prior to starting, but that's okay. Find it eventually, I'm sure. And if not, I don't know, maybe I'll steal one of Ben's. Probably not, but I do have some other paints from Reaper, so they're the same bottles, and a lot of them are used up and old, and so the bottles can be thrown away and I can just steal the lids off those. So I'm sure I will make do, but I do find it funny. Like I said, only me. Perfectly clean room, yet something's still completely lost. Now, one of the things you'll notice I'm doing with this one is I'm avoiding a lot of the higher parts of the folds, and that's because those are not as pushed up against the fabric. So you're not going to see anything as bright as your mid-tone where the fabric is kind of folded over like that. So I'm trying to stay in between those folds, and I did not let the other layer dry enough before putting this on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to paint up her eyes. I'll show you that when I get back, and then we'll go ahead and add the veil color. We are already almost done. So it's really a fun effect, but I will be right back with that. Okay, painting pals, here she is, and as you can see, those eyes are really funky. It's not properly set because it's set for the fabric over it, and that's okay because once we get the fabric actually painted over it, it'll be hidden, so it'll be okay. It doesn't have to be great. Once you guys see, I am using a junk brush. This is not a very good detailed brush, and we are glazing. So the color I'm going to use for the fabric is Steely Blue, and that's from Reaper, and I am creating a nice soft glaze that I'm going to put all over everything. And the reason it is a soft glaze, that I am not doing something heavier, even though I know this is too thin, this is not going to give me the results I want, but if I go slowly and build up, then I won't go too far and have to try and pull it back. So this is just a caution thing that I do, because you can add more glaze very, very easily, but you cannot take away the glaze as easily. You can do it, don't get me wrong, you can, it can be done, but it's just not as simple as going slower with the glaze. So I'm just going to keep doing this nice and gentle. and we are ignoring everything. So we're ignoring everything we painted underneath now, the same way we were ignoring the fabric when we painted the underneath. And yes, you need a lot of glaze when you're doing this much space. So now the other key thing to remember about a glaze is that we have to let this stuff dry before we can do the next set of glazing, the next layer of glazing. So I'm going to put you guys on hold again so I can dry off this glaze, and then I will come back and I will show you the next layer of glaze. So don't think you're going to be missing anything. All you're missing is the dry time. All right. Okay, I did make this glaze just a little bit thicker than the last one for this next run through, but you'll see it's still very, very thin. I just don't want to be here all night glazing, and you guys don't want to watch all night glazing. So I'm going to do a little more of a jump, a little thicker than I normally would. Once again, we're going to go all the way around, ignoring everything that's underneath, covering everything evenly and smoothly. Last section, and then we have a big decision to make. So as we get this next step done, this next part of the glazing done, we've got a big decision to make. We can leave it there as a very, very thin veil, or we can let this dry and go a little bit heavier, meaning that the cloth is going to be a little more opaque, a little less transparent. So for me, because for one thing, I'm doing a tutorial, and for another thing, she is trying to hide her face. So she would definitely want something a little bit darker and less sheer than what I have going on right now. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I am going to come back and do another layer of the glaze. And when I come back, I'll show you the last step of the transparency and let you know how many actual layers of the glaze that I did to build it up to where I want to go. All right. Okay, painting pals, I changed my mind. So this is after 3 layers, and I'm about to put on a 4th. But while I'm doing that, I wanted to talk to you about glazing, because I know I don't actually have a good tutorial or any solid information on glazing. I've mentioned it in several of my videos, but especially since it's such a big part of this tutorial, I thought I should take some time to talk about it. Now, a glaze is just a thinned paint. So when you take your paint and you add a little bit of water to it, you get a layer consistency. So you still get good opacity, and you're layering up your model. So it's pretty solid. I'll show you. This would be layer consistency, what we normally use. I'm going to actually take some of that off because that's not the color I want there. I'll fix that later. But for a glaze, you're going to make it even thinner than that so that the previous colors can be seen. So you're just going to add more water to it. And if you struggle, I did as well. It took me a long time to get glaze consistency down and to be able to create it on my own naturally. There are mediums out there. Almost every paint range has a medium called a glaze medium. And you just add a dab of that to your paint, and suddenly you've got a perfect glaze. So feel free to use those if you do have difficulty. And if you add even more water, then you get a wash, or what Games Workshop likes to call a shade. So that is where you're just flooding, and it goes into the recesses, but it doesn't actually do very much for the top of the figure, the highlights. So that would be the difference between the 3. It's basically the amount of water you're adding. So a glaze would be your in-between point. It's not a wash, it's not a layer. And you can see how these glazes really come up. Like I said, this is my fourth one. That first one didn't look like much of anything. Even the second one didn't look like much of anything. But once you get into the third and fourth passes, you start getting a lot more. So I'm going to actually let this dry, and I'm going to do a fifth one. But on the fifth one, I'm just going to hit certain points that need to be brought down more, like over here, the end of this, the shadow color here. It's still very thin on this side of the hair. It doesn't match the other side. And Ben is deciding to be very loud right at the top of the stairs. So hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. But I'm going to take care of just those few touch-up little places as this dries. And then I promise I'll be back to show you the final step. All right, as promised, we're on to the last step. But before we do one more thing I do want to mention is the reason I use a junky brush while I'm doing glazing. Same for washing. Never use a detail brush. That extra water could get the paint flowing down into the ferrule and ruin your detail brush. So anytime you're using a glaze or a wash, you want to use a junkier brush and not your good detail brush. And I could change now to my detail brush, but we're not going to, just because this is one is already out and will work just fine. So next we are doing Steely Blue, but we're doing a layer consistency this time. So we are using the thicker paint, not quite as thinned out, and we are basically making all of the folds on her pure blue. We're bringing it all the way up. So we don't want those to be thin anymore. We want it to be nice, thick layer consistency so we can cover and make those folds darker. Because again, those folds are where the fabric is bunching up, and where it bunches up, you're not going to see through it as much. So we're bringing just those all the way up. And that's it. That is the secret. This one here too. That is the secret and the entire tutorial on how to do sheer fabric. And I'll keep going around and doing all of these folds and filling in these bottom sections where nothing else is going to be seen through it. So while I take care of that and finishing up the model, our fantastic editors will transport you over to final photos. And here she is, all done. I really hope you got something out of this one. Like I said, I've been wanting to do it for a while, but you gotta find the right model in order to be able to do it on YouTube so that you don't expose anything that YouTube doesn't want exposed on a figure. I know, art is protected and technically this counts, but I don't want to jeopardize the channel that way. I'm not big enough to get away with anything, so I don't push the envelope. So let me know in the comments below if you actually learned anything, or feel free to share your work on our communities tab or on any of our other social media. Thank you so much for watching another one with me. I'm so glad that you tune in, and I'm so happy that you're here so that I can bestow any knowledge that I have upon you. But feel free to share in the comments below any wisdom or tips that you have in regards to sheer fabric or any other tutorials you'd like to see. A special thank you to our patrons. I know you guys already got this tutorial on our live stream, but now you have yet another recording of it and get to see a different take on it. And if you would like to join our Patreon and get access to our exclusive live streams, early access to videos, tips, tricks, and feedback on your work, anything like that, we'd love to have you, and you're more than welcome to join. There's even some free trial options. So feel free to check that out. And until next time, have fun and keep creating.